Sierra Nevada Timber, what's up, guys? Hope you got your sunglasses on, because that exhaust port might blind you. So let's talk about everything. So here's the cylinder all done. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like done. There's the squish. So I purposely ended the last video to kind of take a shot at the machinist who can have a sense of humor. I actually was surprised. So I was thinking they were going to tear me apart, but there are people are coming around. Let's just put it that way. And I'm really glad to see it. Finally, people are realizing, like, I don't take myself so seriously, and I don't think other people should too. Let's get this straight. I'm a dude in a garage, okay? I build saws for badasses, but I'm a dude in a garage. This ain't some crazy professional operation. Let's be honest, guys. So why does everybody else want to act like they are some crazy professional operation and they're not just a dude in a garage? Everybody needs to check their ego and just be realistic. We're dudes in garages building saws for people. Now, quit acting like you're something special, because I'm not, you're not, nobody is. We're building saws for people. It's a job. It's fun. I like doing it. But Jesus, guys, let's quit with the we're better than these guys, they're better than those guys, and I'm better than him. Well, come on. Let's get real. Dudes in garages. That's what we're doing. We're not saw builders, for Christ's sake. We're mechanics. Dudes in garages. So there we go. That's the cylinder all done. Let's do it this way. I'll show you what everything looks like all done. That way when I'm doing, I just thought of this on the fly. That way when I'm doing this work to the cylinder, you know what I'm going after. So there we go. That's the lower transfers right there. Uppers. And on the uppers, you got to make sure that you get into the uppers. See how I get all the way in there? We're not playing patty cake, guys. We're getting all the way in there. Of course, my camera light died. Of course. So, yeah, uppers. There's my squish band. Looks good, doesn't it? Yeah. So, again, I thought I was going to get torn apart on that, so it's kind of refreshing to see people come around. The die work is done. This I even dyed the starter rope on it, and I dried it out really good. I'm going to send another Elasto start rope with it just in case. I don't know why I'm worried about it. I would think it would be fine, but I've never dyed one of the thicker ropes like this. I did it on Jacob Rogers 200T. That was the first time I did it. So covers are dyed. Gonna put the West Coast 3-point dogs on it. Bark box. Probably a third muffler port. Gonna cut a bunch of this baffle out. Got all kinds of stuff to do, guys. So this is a fun build. I'm really happy with the way the series is going. People are asking good questions, staying involved. I love it. So I'll answer the questions in this video. A lot of people were wondering how I determine what I'm cutting out of my squish, and it's a really easy answer. I make it up in the decking of the base. So I'll talk about that in a second here. So I have a certain way that I do it. So if someone, this is one of the arguments that people that want to chop you down at the knees and say, well, if somebody has a problem with a piston, they need just a piston, which is really weird. Why would you need just a piston? Your just piston went bad? Like, it's kind of a weird argument, but if they did, I can get them one because I cut them all at the same exact measurement. I cut all my squish bands at the same exact angle. Where I'm making it up, and it's like plus or minus 5 thou maybe, is where I cut the base, okay? Because I have room to play with. Now, obviously, the way that I'm cutting the squish by hand, it's not accurate to the thousandth of an inch height-wise, but the angle is machine cut on my lathe. It's cut at the dead exact angle that I want, and that angle, it matches the piston, which the piston angle is going to be the same every single time because I do them all the same. They're the same amount of material above the ring. They're all the same. So if someone needs a piston, I just machine them one and send it to them. It's that easy. So some of these guys act like I don't think ahead, like, Jesus, you guys think this is my first day on the job or something? I am just a dude in the garage, but good Lord. So let's get to it. I really appreciate all you guys staying involved in this series. This is awesome. I don't even care if it gets a ton of views or not. This was a pretty cool way to do this. I think a lot of people actually got something out of this, and that's my whole thing, guys. Don't be afraid to show your work. Don't be afraid to say that you do stuff differently. You're gonna see how I make my measurements. I'm gonna say some stuff that other people are gonna be like, "What?" You know, like, I just tell you how I do things. I don't care if people think it's stupid. I really don't. The customers that I build saws for love them. So there we go. It's that's how it is. I'm here to shake things up, but I'm here to help the younger guys that want to get going on this, that are so nervous because they think they're going to get beat up, torn apart, ridiculed. It's just so ridiculous. We're dudes in garages. The next guy that ridicules you, think of it like that. Just like me, just a dude in a little garage. So let's do this, guys. Well, let's do a quick lesson and demonstration on the different style burrs. I call these burrs or bits, and the different hand pieces. I run it's actually a knockoff, what they call a Fordham. I have a real Fordham actually, but it doesn't have reverse. I bought this for $80 and it has been fantastic. I have done so many cylinders with this $80, what would you call that? The gearbox or the motor, I guess. Yeah, motor would be the thing. It works perfectly. I did upgrade to this foot pedal right here. So this is the Fordham brand. It's about $90. I think it was actually more than the whole setup. And you're gonna want to they have the cables that run inside of here. These motors have so much power that they'll snap those cables. So buy a few extra if you're gonna get one of these setups. But you 100% do not need to buy the $800 setup from CC Specialty Tools. One thing you will have to spend money on, unless you go with the air die grinder style, is the 90-degree handpiece. These are really nice. It's about $500. It is what it is. I haven't found a good option for a cheaper one, but the difference between the hand pieces, and I do goofy stuff to mine because I'm weird. I do knurling to them and I thin them out. I take these down because they have this guard that sticks up. They take this style tool for like a cordless, or like basically like a chuck for a drill, and that's how you loosen the end, and it's kind of nice like that. This style right here would take, you put a pin through it and use a wrench and use it as a collet and all that. But buy the $60 to $70 actual Fordham brand. You can get them on eBay and places like that for a decent price. Don't buy the $15, $20 ones. They're junk. I've tried them. You can rebuild them though. Like I bought a cheap one. Actually, this guy right here, this one right here is kind of a cheapo, but I redid the bearings. I put actual name brand bearings in them. So that's kind of my advice on that. The different styles of burrs. So you have your real aggressive single cut. A single cut is going to mean one cutting edge, and this would be a double cut. So you see the difference. I got gloves on so you can see these things. Okay, see that would be a double cut. Whoop. That would be a single cut on the right. And these are really aggressive. This would be this guy right here. These are actually really expensive burrs. I usually get the cheap ones, but these are about $20 a piece. They're really good though. But this would be like a normal single cut. And that would be your different styles. Now, the difference between these guys right here, this single cut is super aggressive. I think they call that an Aluma cut or Aluma hog, I think I've heard them called. These are a different brand. They're about $40 for a set of 10. They will take material off so fast. I love them, but I would not recommend something like this until you get your legs under you. Get a little bit practice, because you can wreck a cylinder real fast. Actually, here's a video showing the difference. I'm pressing the same amount with each of these bits on the same junk cylinder, and I'll show you the difference between the aggressive Aluma cut, or whatever you want to call them, and just a regular burr. So check this out. So yeah, that's the difference between those. Again, I would never use one on the inside of a cylinder, like for a lower transfer, upper transfer. That would be you'd be kind of risking it doing that. And then here's a bunch of different shapes. You're gonna have your cylinder with a rounded top, cylinder with a flat top. This shape right here, I literally never use. I don't even know what you call that, boat anchor. And then different styles of ovals and Christmas trees, and you'll get variety packs. You can get like a set of 10 for like 15 bucks. They work good. Honestly, I have no problem with them. I just keep a ton of them in this tree style thing right here. And when they start to go bad, I just toss them and get new ones. The expensive ones do last a hell of a lot longer. Like this, yeah, I think I showed you that one, right? Yeah, this guy right here. These are a Fordham brand, I think, and these are really nice. It's what I keep in my 90 at all times. I pretty much keep it in here and don't take it out. So people have asked on the last video, what do I do to keep the aluminum from jamming in there or to get it out? So there are better greases and waxes than this. This is for shotgun choke tubes. So, but I use it. It works decent. I probably won't be able to open it. It's freaking slippery. But it's kind of like a thicker style grease. I would get the cutting wax. Probably works a lot better. But here's a trick. If you see me going over to this bench grinder, that's what I'm doing. I'll show you. Let me set you up in the tripod, and I'll show you how I use this to get the aluminum out. Because once you start getting the aluminum jammed in there, you gotta stop. You gotta get it out. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. All right, here's a good tip. This is giving away all my good secrets. So when you get your burrs all jammed up with aluminum like that, see, like that's really bad. What I do is I have a bench grinder with a wire wheel brush on it, and I can run this in forward and reverse. I put it on reverse, I turn the bench grinder on, and then I run this at the same time, and it cleans it right off. See? Perfectly clean. And that was about as bad as it gets. That thing had so much aluminum jammed in it. They don't even cut like that. There we go, making a mess already. But yeah, different styles of hand pieces. The 90, pretty expensive. The bigger style, this is like the classic Fordham. This one is narrower. I like these for certain situations, but I don't change the burr out as much because it takes a pin and a wrench. And the 90 has its own little tool for taking the end out. I pretty much leave this end in it all times, and I do cut I'll cut the back off so you can get into tighter spots with it. Because as you can see, this was one of these. So I cut a bit off of it. Then you can get down into cylinders a little better. There you go. All right, let's get to porting already, huh? Okay, one thing quick. So you can read that part number. Okay, so these are really nice tools for installing these circlips, I call them. It's the little clip, the retaining clip that holds the wrist pin in. And as I just dropped one, they're kind of a pain in the ass to get in on the Stihls because they don't have like a tab like the ones on the Huskies do. But they make this tool that works really good. I love this thing. And there might be other ways to get these things in, but the way this works, and they make two different sizes. There's a smaller one and a bigger one. I'll get you the other part number. You put that little clip on there like that. This end is magnetic, okay? And then this piece has a post on it, a little tab that it only fits in this way. And then you take this and you press it in there. Now that little clip is inside of that end, and then you flip the tool around. Where it had it this way. You flip it around, and then when you want to put it in, you literally just press it. If I have let me grab a piston sitting here. You just press it in like this. You just press hard. You get that thing lined up to that hole, and you just press it in. So let's throw this in quick. And we got the piston back in. We're ready to get our numbers. And then, so it's in there. I like to take, this is a screwdriver that just fits really good in here. And I press it back the other way pretty, give it some pressure. Make sure that that ring is in there, and then kind of, visually check it and inspect it, make sure that thing's in there good. And that they work really good. Now the smaller one, that would be this guy. These things are so hard to focus. Okay, can you read that? My eyes are terrible, so if I can read it, you can. 59108902210. The other one's 2212, I believe. So there you go. A couple little tools that work pretty slick. Other than that, the only special tool I'll be using is the piston stop. And I'm not sure what the part number is on that. This might be just a generic one. I thought I had a Stihl one actually, but maybe I don't. I could have swore I did though. One second here, guys. Well, either way, you can look that up. It's just, you know, piston stop, and I really like them for getting the, you know what I mean, the top dead center, bottom dead center. We'll do that again right now, actually. So let's put the cylinder on. Again, I use 2 bolts. Let's see if this one has a part number. Well, neither one of them have a part number on it. They must not be actual. Usually any Stihl tool or part, anything, will have a part number on it. So I'm going to use 2 bolts. Base gasket is in. I'm going to make sure my degree wheel is centered again. And then basically going to get my numbers after everything was decked. So every time I put a bolt in, this has a rocker trigger. I hit backwards, you know, I hit reverse just real quick, and it sets the threads for me. And again, this thing locks, and I have it on pretty low tension. Keep it on about 7, and you can't really over tighten anything. All right, piston stop. And these things just screw in, and I don't think the degree wheel got moved, but hey, probably a good thing to check, and then I'll get my numbers again. Okay, so we're gonna roll it around, get to top dead center, see where it stops. Excuse my big head in the way. We're at about 25, and we're at about 22. Okay, so it did get moved a little bit. We're gonna go about 23 and a half. See, good thing I checked. 24 and a half, so 24. 24, right on the money. So there we go. Now we're good. See, good thing we checked that. Now, let's get the numbers after all the machining and the razzle dazzle. See where we're at. So get my handy dandy flashlight. Intake, we are going after bottom dead center. Piston's going up. Right when it starts to open, I like to get it right when it starts to open. I'm guessing it's going to be about 82, 83? 84. See? Like I said. And then we're going to get the exhaust. I'm going to be in the way for this, guys. Sorry. Actually, let's take you... Well, I got to have this phone plugged in. It's getting pretty bad. So instead of having my big head in the way, I'll probably just edit this out. I'm guessing this is going to be right around 100, 101, somewhere in there. 102. See, exactly like I said. It was just one off every time. I must have had one shoe on when I was measuring this. So, blowdown is going to stay the same. Let's write these numbers down. I need to get a piece of paper. I will be right back, guys. Well, I forgot to measure the squish for you guys. And then I'm going to show off a little bit because the numbers that I thought I would be at in the last video, I was right on them. So, that's pretty cool, huh? I think I get lucky every once in a while. So we're just going to run this against the squish band again, like I did, and like everybody knows how to do. Nothing special here. Get it in a couple spots. Make sure you're tight to the wall. And I might be a little tight on this one, and that's on purpose because these guys pull big bars. I want this thing a little bit rowdy. God, it sucks doing all this stuff on camera. So again, zeroed out. Jesus, come on. That's perfect. 195. I was shooting for like 190 or 19, 20 thou, somewhere in there. So perfect. And Jesus, good Lord, it's so weird to try to do all this stuff on camera, guys. It's different. So used to doing it and not having to worry about any of this stuff. But there we go. So we'll write that down too. And I'll show you that I was right on where I wanted to be. We're going to call it 19 thou on the squish because it's when you tighten the cylinder bolts down, it'll probably tighten up a little bit. So check this out. Remember I had this on the last video before I did any of that? And look what I ended up at. 84, 102, 125. And then the blowdown is still 23, obviously. Huh, it's crazy. Except for I went 19 thou instead of 20. But there we go. This is going to be a rowdy saw. This thing's going to be ridiculous. So let's talk about what I need to do. I am going to shoot for, I'm going to leave this at 84. I'm going to shape it a little bit. Let me get rid of this. I'm going to leave this at 84. This is going to be so hard to write with one hand. That's going to be, what the hell is that? So we're going to stay there. The exhaust, I'm going to go to 100. So we're going to go up. I can't even write like this. I'm going to go up to 100. And then the blowdown, I'm gonna run with a 22 blowdown on this. Okay, so if I have that at 100, I need to go to 122 here. Okay, so then the blowdown will be 22. Squish is set. Everything else is good. Let me trace out. I'm gonna go through the ports and I'm gonna trace out the ports on the piston, and that way you guys can see what it looks like if we can widen. And on the 661s, I can tell you right now, I'm not going to really do any widening. I'll square the ports up, but we'll talk about that in a second. So there is our exhaust port traced out. You can see we got plenty of room before we're free porting. It's kind of a small exhaust port on these. And there is the intake. I traced that out a little bit darker so you guys could see it. And we got plenty of room to go up. I do what they call like a lung or tonsiled intake, so I'm going to put a little different shape to it. Going to leave the floor. And I like to square these up a bit, so the bottom is low enough and it's squared up enough where I'm going to tonsil this a little bit. These 661s are really easy, guys. They really are. So I like doing these things. I do them all day long. It's just like a 660, except for there's a couple wires to take off. So the cylinder, this is how I'm going to mark this thing out. I use an old piston and ring, and I use that to mark it. And I know what I want for measurements. The people will argue this. I'm telling you, I've measured this myself. I don't like to just listen to what people say. On my degree wheel, 12 thousandths is 1 degree. I don't care what anybody says. I've measured this over and over. Some people say 11, some people say 13. I think it actually depends on your wheel. There's some trigonometry and geometry and all this shit nobody understands that is involved in this. So you know what? Measure it. The easiest way to do it is to go by tens. I'll put a piston ring in, and I've done this to verify this so many times. I put a piston ring in a cylinder, and I'll go to like 0 degrees. I'll push the cylinder down so it presses the ring up to a certain spot. I'll measure that with this digital calipers, and I'll stick everything again is trying to do this shit one-handed. So I'll stick this down there, and I'll get my measurement. I'll zero it out, and then I'll put the cylinder back on, and I'll rotate 10 degrees. And then every single time it'll be 120 thousandths. So it'd be like that in change, and I'm talking like nothing where it doesn't even matter. So that's 12 thousandths. So I don't care what anybody says. My degree wheel, 12 thou, is the magic number. So that I think can depend on your wheel. But we're talking the difference between 12, a difference between a thousandth is like literally nothing. But there you go. On my wheel, it's 12 thou. So I want to raise this by 24 thou, and I'm going to raise this. I want to go to, I want to blow it on a 22. So I'm going to raise this by 36 thou. Okay? 24, because 2 degrees, 36, 3 degrees. And then that's going to put me right where I want to be. Does that make sense? Good. All right, let's do it. Okay, X marks the spot, so I know if I'm right here, you guys should be able to see what I'm doing. Now, let's talk about how I get my measurements. Again, I'll tell you again that the way I do things probably is different than how a lot of other people do it, because I wasn't really part of the YouTube craze, the saw porter deal. So a lot of this stuff is, what I learned on my own. A lot of it I developed on my own, and a lot of it I learned other places than YouTube. So that's maybe one good thing about the way I do things is you probably see a different way to do it. So the way that I get my measurements, I use a piston ring, and a piston, old piston. Obviously, it has to be the same bore size. I just use these. I think these are Bic. Yeah, these seem to work really good. Plus, you'll be able to see it. Mechanical pencils work sometimes and all that, but this will be really easy for you guys. So first off, I don't need a measurement on the roof of my intake. I'm not going down on my intake, so I don't need to measure that. But I'm going to get one on the roof because I'm going to do what I call like a tonsiled or lunged intake. And I'm just going to get a straight line over the top of... That's a little too far. Again, doing this stuff on camera is always such a pain in the ass. So you can see that piston ring, I'm pushing it up. I just want a reference line right above my intake port, right? Okay, so I got my ring there. And I'm just going to make a line here so I know that that's where straight across is. And it gives me a reference for when I do the work to the intake roof. Because you'll see, this is like freaking trying to cut your own hair in a mirror or something. Good Lord. So I got a line there. And I don't need anything else. I can, just to be thorough and kind of show you how I would do things, I would also put one on the floor if I was going to go down or square off the floor. These are pretty good actually right out of the box as far as the lower part of the intake being squared off. I do like to run more of a squared off intake. Okay, so now actually better just to do it this way. There you go. See? Not so hard. So that just gives me a reference, right? So then now if I take, I'm not going to go any wider really on the intake, but I'm going to take like this off. Not that wide, but see, I'm going to make like a pattern like that. And that straight line is giving me a reference. You'll see what I mean. I'll redo this mark off camera, but that is what I'm going to be cutting out. That's why I want that straight line there. Okay? So let's get rid of that. And like I'd mentioned, 12 thousandths is 1 degree. Now, as we said, I have to go 24 thou, 2 degrees up on my exhaust. So let's get that first. I always start at the lowest part of the cylinder as you're pushing the ring down. So which would be the highest part if you're thinking of it right side up. That's right, not confusing at all. So I'm going to push this ring with the piston. Actually, it's easier to just hold it like this. And I'm going to push it so the bottom of the ring, because that's where my mark is going to be, is at the top of the exhaust, right? So I'm basically, I have it so if I drew a line with this marker, I'd be right at the roof of the exhaust because I want a line that is 24 thou or 2 degrees higher if the cylinder was right side up or lower. You guys, I hope you understand what I'm saying here. Now, how do we measure this? There are actually a lot of different ways. I've seen guys that will get they'll get the piston on it, and they'll put it back in the saw, rotate the saw 2 degrees. And I'm not talking this piston, I'm talking the piston in the saw. So you'd put the saw or the cylinder back on the case, and you'd basically push the degree wheel until the piston that's on the saw pushes it. I don't really like to do it like that. This is how some people do it. I'm trying to give you guys options because, again, I wouldn't just do shit the way I do it just because I do it that way. I do whatever works for you. So I've seen people that take this piston and they will use their calipers, whatever they got to measure, and they'll basically push down 24 thou. And there's tons of ways to do it. This is how I do it. This has always worked really good for me. So I know I have my ring right. I have my ring right at the top of the exhaust. So I know that this is basically where I'm at currently, right? And I want to move it 24 thou. Sorry, I'm trying to look through the camera and do this. Okay, so I'm right on there right now. I gotta get off camera so I know I'm good because, again, this is a customer saw. Okay. Because this is where the rubber meets the road, guys. You want to be real accurate. Okay, so I got... Now what I'm going to do is when I'm all the way down, I'm touching that ring, okay? Now I'm going to zero this out because the measurement doesn't matter. This is just, instead of doing math, it's very easy to do it like this. So I'm zeroed out. Now I want to go down 24 thousandths, right? Okay. Now I lock this on, and I'll take this. The ring is going to stay even because this thing ain't going to move. And I'm going to take this, and I'm going to push it all the way around the edge, okay? Riding on the base of the cylinder. Go around a couple times even. Now, I know that I've gone down 24 thou or up if the cylinder was right side up, and I'm going to make my mark. That's how I have always done it, and it has always worked really good for me. I haven't had any issues doing it this way. So now, I know that the top, it's going to look like it's going up a ways, but it's really not because it's the top or the bottom this way, the top this way, you know what I'm saying? It's the closest side to the roof of the exhaust where it's already at. That's where I'm grinding to. So if you really look at it, it's not very far at all. From the highest point right here to the upper side, if we're looking at it like this, of the line, it's not far. I mean, here, I'll show you what 24 thousandths of an inch is. So that's 25. Whoa, look at that. Isn't that crazy? That's a long way, boys. So that's literally all we're moving it. People sometimes, I don't think people really realize like what a minute distance we're moving it. Now some saws are different. Like the 461, I'm moving like damn near a quarter inch. But the 661 is pretty good right where it's at. And that's 25 thou. It's nothing. I mean, it's absolutely nothing. And just to verify, when it closed it, we're back at 0. So that was 25 thousandths of an inch. That's all I'm moving that port. Okay, let's do the same thing for the uppers, because I know I want to move those 36 thou, 3 degrees. I'm going to stick the ring back in there, use the piston. And these are kind of hard. Sometimes you can look through the exhaust to see where we're at. Hard without a flashlight. Oh, right on. A little bit further, but... Okay, so now I have the upper side where I would draw my line. So if I drew a line, it would be right on the ring, basically, or right on the bottom of the transfers. And now I'm going to get my 0 again. Okay, so then that's going to zero it out. Then I'm going to get 36 thou. Then I lock it down. Ring around the rosy. And I mean, I don't know how other people really do this, but I can't think of, I don't know how you're going to get more accurate than doing it this way. I just go around a couple times and I make sure that it's not, oh shit, not moving anywhere. I'm trying to watch the camera at the same time. I'll redo that. So just to show you again, I'm looking through the, you guys probably can't see it. I can see the uppers kind of where they're at, going through the exhaust port. It's not the easiest to get it right there, okay? I gotta pay attention to what I'm doing and not look at the damn camera is what the problem is. Right there, 0, and you get pretty fast at this when you do a lot of it. And again, I don't know why I'm trying to look through the camera again. This is where I screwed up. I mean, we're dealing with such minute measurements. Okay, lock her down. All right, this time I'm gonna watch what I'm doing. I'm not gonna be able to do that on camera, maybe, but slide this thing all the way around. Then you basically know if you go around and you are not touching anywhere, you know that you got it all the way down. And just like the piston, it's going to keep it squared in the cylinder, or level, I should say, because we're dealing with the same, I mean, exact measurement. And this thing doesn't move when it's locked in. I mean, I can't push it if I wanted to. So I know that, you know what I mean? I can't do nothing with it until I unlock it. There we go. All right, my friends, is it really that time? So I am going to start off. I just do things, because, I don't know, you get in habits of doing things, but I do the intake first. It obviously doesn't matter how you do these things. Sometimes your lines will get kind of covered up with shavings and stuff. It's no big deal. You just blow it off. And I'm going to use a single cut, not so aggressive, kind of oval style bit. They work good for what I'm doing with the lunged intake. Now, the theories behind that, so this is actually obviously not something I invented or anything. This is, you see a lot of the older saws, well, not a lot of them, but like a 034, 084, and some of that is for different reasons, but the principle behind it and why I do it is that it directs, I'm all about directing flow. So it's directing that fuel air mixture around and down, like a tunnel almost, to the sides of the crank. And in the saws that I do it in, this is how I justify it and why I think it's a good idea to do consistently on every saw, because again, it's all about consistency for what I'm doing. It's customer saws, there's no experimentation on this stuff. So I've noticed that if I don't do that on an adjustable carb, I can't add as much fuel. So there's a fine line with adding fuel also. Like, you gotta, you don't want the thing out there guzzling gas, but when you can add a eighth of a turn of fuel and get good power out of it, then it's beneficial. So I'll try to do this. So I just got my straight line, and I'm basically move this, lengthen this bit a little bit, and maybe you guys will be able to see better. So I'll try to do what I can on camera, but obviously, guys, this is a customer saw. I can't sacrifice quality for views, not yet at least. So here we go. I'm just gonna have at it. And there is no like set measurement. This is just from doing enough of them. And I like a real squared roof. All right, time to get rowdy with the aggressive Aluma cut, because I got to take a bunch of this material out. One thing I have noticed with these two is if you don't have them really tight, you got to make sure they're tight in there. Otherwise, they're so aggressive and chattery that they have a tendency to come loose sometimes. So I'm getting that track cleared out is what I want now. Obviously being careful that you don't get real thin on your sidewalls. That's how we like it. We want material out of there, boys. Okay, another thing to look at. Let me grab the intake manifold. Bella's outside, she ain't gonna come in. So now your choke point is gonna be your intake manifold, but you can take anything, which on a 661 is gonna be nothing. If there was anything above where that intake manifold meets, so there's a little bit on the floor. No, not quite. So the only spot I can even see that, if I can mark it through here. Yeah, it's not, there's nothing even above it. The only spot that I could see, I marked on the cylinder, was like a little bit right here, and a little bit down here. But I'm gonna open it up a little bit, just to make sure. But my thinking on this is there's not really any reason to open it way up if your intake manifold is clogging it up anyway. I don't like having like big voids. Like some people, when they do a 200T, they open the intake up completely round like this, which I don't agree with, because like this one, it's not, this one ain't the same, but on the 200 the intake manifold is like closed off on the bottom, so you're just making like a big drop off on the other side of it. So obviously I'm not going down, I'm just kind of evening out, and then okay, so this is where I would say like an inexperienced person would leave this middle part. I don't know if you guys can see it, but so I'm opened up kind of at the cylinder wall and at this, but there's a lot of meat in the middle, and that's got to come out. If you know what you're looking for, you'd notice it right away. I hope my focus ain't going all over the frickin' place. If someone knows that and is listening, how the hell do you stop that? Like, my camera wants to focus on shit I don't want it focusing on. It drives me crazy. Okay, so see how I met in the... So my line, the line basically I want to be disappeared by the time I'm done grinding. And see how I got thicker, you know, I got some blue, and I'm talking about this, the top of the exhaust, bottom if you're looking at it like this. So it'll be basically gone in the middle, and then I'll have a little bit of blue showing, so I know I got that arc that I want. But that's why you got to be careful. You don't start, you know, basically like start on the edge and get all the way down to your line. So if you have your straight line drawn across, know that you only want to be there in the middle, not the outside. And the bottom, if I can square that up a little more, I'm gonna, and I think I can. And let me just get this evened out a little bit, and then I'm gonna stick it back, you know, blow it out, stick it back on the cylinder, or the saw real quick, and mark my piston, see where I'm at. Okay, so this is roughly where I'm at. I tried to redo the original lines as good as possible. I kind of screwed it up. I tried to use marker so you guys could see better, but that's roughly what I gained on the intake. It didn't do anything to the floor. Lunged it a bit. The exhaust, a lot more open. Kind of had that football shape before. Now it's really nice and squared up. So gained some there, and like you know, as you can see, went down on the floor as well. So that's kind of important to do that, especially if when your piston is at bottom dead center and you're sticking up above the floor of the exhaust. So now I get to do the uppers. Let's mark these bad boys out. If their marks are still there, let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna remark these. So remark these out, and then we'll get to it. So here's another tip or trick. You can put basically your heat shield on, which is gonna tell you about the size of your muffler and gasket and all that. And you kind of tune this up, and then you can use this as a guide. That's why I don't like to go really open on the outside. You definitely can't have anything blocking this. You want to address that. Okay, so I got the exhaust pretty well squared up on the inside. Looks a lot better, a lot bigger. I guarantee that helps these things out a lot. Now, here is a spot that this is where the charge is going to go from the bottom of the case into the lower transfers. I give this thing a better pathway. There's really no set. I mean, you could draw yourself a reference mark, but there's no. I'll show you on the crankcase, like the 460. What am I thinking? What models are like that? 461, 462, I believe, 500i. They'll have in the crankcase. They'll have an actual spot that goes across. These don't. Like technically, you could probably take this out, which I thought about doing one time, but I didn't actually take it all the way out. And you know, there's going to be the argument that it could weaken stuff, so just be careful with it. You can't widen it or go any bigger any way except for back towards the cylinder. Otherwise, you'd have to do crankcase work. I just give it a little easier time to get up there without going too crazy. Oh, you know it's serious when I get the gloves back on, boys. So I'm getting down to the fine tuning. About ready to about ready to button this thing up. Just touching up just like a regular, nothing special stone. I keep telling you guys, I got no secrets. It's just all keep going until it's perfect. There we go. That's the sound we want. So like that area right there, that's pretty good. That area would polish up nice. Keep going until it's perfect. That's all it is. Just taking out any little rough spots so that the polishing, you can get it to that mirror finish. That's the only way you'll ever get it to that mirror look like I get. You have to have all of the little defects out. Every single one of them. You guys see what I'm doing? Okay. So there we go. I am pretty much ready for the polishing now. I know a lot of people are curious about this, think I got some secret sauce or something, and literally that couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, there's nothing like that exists. So let me just polish this up quick. Be careful with this shit right here. Whew. Yikes, that stuff's strong. Yeah, there we go. So, I mean, it's alright. This is, grab that stuff at Walmart. Anywhere, any aisle. I better edit that out.